Hello everyone, this is Shovik back again with another video. In today's session, I'll be discussing about one very exciting topic, that is Maven BOM or bill of material. So before even getting started with the actual topic, right? So I want to give you a certain context, so that you could understand that why should we even use this technology, right? Use this method, Maven BOM, or what is the requirement for this one, right? And why it even come into the picture, right? So as a Java developer, means many times we depend on many third-party libraries, like let's say for the security purpose, or we want to log something, or let's say for the JDBC connection or mailing service. So if we depend on those third-party libraries, so it's very likely that we are not going to write the whole logic by our own. So most probably in many cases we depend on some other third-party libraries, let's say Spring Security, or for logging purpose we use the Self4j or the Log4j, right? And while dependent on those third-party libraries, so it also matters that it should be updated, and there comes the concept of versioning, right? So we should keep on updating our application so that it should get acquainted with the latest update of all of those third-party libraries, right? And maintaining those version is a painful thing, right? And as a Java developer, we often use tools like Maven, Gradle, or Ant, right, to manage our dependencies. So those third-party libraries are basically called the dependencies, right? We know. So in this video, I'll be talking about how Maven manages the dependencies, right? And there are certain scenario. There could be a scenario that where version conflict could be happen, because both of my third-party libraries are dependent on a same artifactory or the same library, but both of those libraries are dependent on two other version of the dependent library, right? So let me just annotate over here. Let's say our Spring Beans also dependent on log, and we are also using for the security, right? And it is also dependent on log, right? And Beans is dependent on log for the 4.3.4, and it is dependent on 5.3.1, right? So we are dependent on both of these libraries, right? But how we should manage that for both of these library, what version of Self4j log we should use, right? So here Maven's come into the picture, and Maven does a fantastic job, right? But again, there is a catch. Maven does these things in their own way, right? That which one he should pick, it Maven have their own logic, and sometimes that doesn't fit our requirement, right? I'll come to that in a later part. But before moving forward, right, so to solve all of this problem, there is a concept of Maven BOM, bill of material, which is a very easy and efficient concept to manage these terrible things, I would say, right? So before starting the actual concept, that is Maven bill of material, I'll start with the concept that how Maven itself manages these conflicts, right? So let's get started. And as I said, that let's say I have an application hello world. Okay, so it depends on many libraries, right? It depends on many libraries. So in that case, there are two kind of dependency, right? One is called direct dependency, and another one is called transitive dependency. Okay, so what is direct dependency? Let's say our application depends on the log4j for its logging purpose, right? So in our pom.xml, XML will specify this one, and it will fetch this particular version, and it will work with this. So this is a direct dependency. Our application is directly dependent on the log4j, right? Let's go to the transitive dependency. Let's say we have an application hello world, And in our hello world application, we have pom.xml. Okay, so in our pom.xml, we are using the Spring Boot Starter Web, and Spring Boot Starter Web again dependent on another one third-party library. Let's say log4j core. So for our project, this dependency is the direct dependency, and this dependency is the transitive dependency, because this we haven't declared this directly. It is dependent on this one, right? Let's go forward. So far we have discussed the type of dependency. Okay, so now talk about the version conflict, whatever I have talked before in the beginning of the video, right? So in that case, what happens? Let's say in our application, hello world again. We love hello world, right? pom.xml. Sorry, we have defined two dependency, Spring Context and the Spring Security Web, right? And we have defined everything, that what version we need. So we have defined everything, right? So now how the version conflict comes over here, right? So Spring Context, again, Spring Context has been it's a third-party library, has been developed by Spring basically. So Spring Context again depends on Spring AOP, right? And Spring AOP in turns depends on Spring Beans of version 5.3.5, right? And Spring Context also depends on Spring Beans directly, and it is again version is 5.3.5. And Spring Security Web depends on Spring Security Core. In turns, it depends on Spring AOP, and in turns it's again depends on Spring Beans, but this time the version is different, right? 5.2.13 release. You could see these are different, right? And Spring Security Web also depends on Spring Web, and again Spring Web depends on the Spring Beans. It is 5.2.13 again. And Spring Web also directly depends on Spring Beans, right? So that means in our project we have defined two dependencies. We don't know any other things. We have defined these two dependencies, but this dependency again in terms depends on these all dependency, right? Now the question is where the version conflict comes. Now the question is, we have defined only these two, right, in our pom.xml, and our to run our application, our Maven will bring all the necessary dependencies, right? So for the matter of Spring Context, it will try to bring Spring Beans, and for the Spring Security Web, it also try to bring Spring Beans, right? But in both the places, the version is completely different, right? Now in our external library, so let me just show you. So whenever we build our application, we have external library, right? So whenever Maven will build the application, it will put all the dependent in this external library. So in our external library, we can't bring both the Spring Beans version, right? So it will bring any one of them, because it's very obvious that when we are using that application, it's not possible that for one portion I am calling that version, means in a same application. Let's say for the log4j, it's not possible that I want to call this method of the log4j, but from this version. It is not possible, right? So there in our actual application, we could only mention the package and the class name, right? That's it. So let's get back to our presentation. So now the question is how Maven will figure out that which Spring Beans we should pick up, right? So for that, basically Spring has its own algorithm, right? It's not like that 5.3. It looks like that 5.3.5 is the latest one, then we should discard the 5.2.13. It's not like that, because we know that to create any Maven application, we could in the version we could write actually anything. So it could be like, let's say, one second, it could be like, let's say 5.a dot let's say alpha, right? We could write anything basically, or for another one I could write b dot 2 dot beta, right? So in what context Maven will sort it out? So the sorting is not possible. Maven will not use the sorting algorithm to decide that which version with which version I should go with, right? So in terms, what Maven does is that So here I have written that Maven doesn't know which version is newer and which version is older. So it's not possible by sorting that Maven should declare that, okay, we'll go with this version, right? So instead, Maven takes the approach of the nearest transitive dependency in the tree depth and the first resolution. Don't go with this jargonic word. Okay, I have taken up from some, I think, some article. Those are the fabulous article I would say, but these are little bit tough to understand. I'll explain it in a very easy way. So this is the things, right? So I hope you all remember in our college days we learned one topic called the level order traversal in tree, right? So basically what Maven doesn't follow the sorting rule. So what Maven does, Maven created one dependency tree first. So this is the tree. It is the same application I am using. Our hello world depends on the Spring context and the Spring security web, right? In turn, Spring security depends on Spring web AOP and Spring AOP depends on the Spring beans. Again, Spring context also directly depend on the Spring beans 5.3.5, 5.3.5. Similarly, I have declared everything. Now, follow the level order traversal. So, first of all, it will go this one. Let's say I want to resolve the Spring beans first. Okay, basically in the same way, I'll discuss about the Spring beans, but Maven does it for each and every dependency, right? So Maven want to figure out that which version of the Spring beans I should take first, right? So in our level order traversal, we know, let's say we have a tree like this. So this is the tree. So level by level I'll traverse, right? So first I'll go this level, then this level, then this level, left to right. Okay, so what happens, whichever I'll get first in our level order traversal, which one I'll get first, okay, I'll pick that up, right? So if I traverse from here, okay, I'm not getting the Spring beans any. Again, I'll go this level, right? Spring AOP, no. Spring beans, okay, I got it. So I'll pick this one. I got it. And even if there is Spring beans, I'll omit it. I'll not take it. I'll omit this one as well. Again going, I'll omit this one as well, I'll omit this one as well. So this is the one, I'll pick it up. So basically it will pick the 5.3.5, right? And let me show it in the code as well. So you could see I have defined one very small application, BOM, right? It's a Maven application, and I have defined two dependencies. In the dependencies, Spring context and the Spring security web, right? So I have defined the same version over here as well. Now if we write one command, that is Maven dependency tree, basically it will form the dependency tree, and I have mentioned the verbose equal to true because I want to show it in the whatever tree it is forming, I want to see it in the terminal, right? So that's why I have marked it as true. So if I run it, see, it has built on tree, right? Let me enlarge it a bit. See, we have defined two. These are the two, Spring context and the Spring security, right? So in turns, again, Spring context depends on the Spring AOP. Spring AOP depends on the Spring beans and the Spring core, right? So 5.3.5, it has been omitted for the duplicate, and again Spring context directly dependent on the Spring beans 5.3.5, but beside this, it has not been written that omitted for the duplicate because it has been selected. Now I will discuss, because you are seeing the two term, that is omitted for duplicate, and another one is called the omitted for conflict with 5.3.5. So I'll discuss it first, then I'll come back, right? Omitted for duplicate means Maven preferred another dependency with the same name and version. Basically it is the same name and the same version, but it preferred another one because maybe Maven find that particular version of the dependency first, right? In the level order traversal, it got it first. That's why. Otherwise, other dependency having the same name and version had a higher priority according to the resolution order and depth. Means it gets it in the level order traversal. It gets in the first, right? And in case of omitted for conflict, Maven preferred another dependency with the same name. Name will be the same, but different version, right? So that's why it's called omitted for the conflict. So in other words, other dependency with the different version had a higher priority according to the resolution order and depth. So now see, in the level order traversal, I have shown it in the tree method as well. That is much easier to understand. Here also it is the same thing. These are the after root, these are the two, right? So it is going the level order. So for this one there is no spring beans. Okay, so here it got the spring beans, so it got it first. So for other ones it is the same one, but it is for the duplicate purpose it has been omitted, right, for this one as well. And in this case, as we have got already 5.3.5 over here, so we'll not take it 5.2.13 because we have got it first, right? So even if we have the spring beans in the same level, but we shouldn't consider it because we got this one first. Which one second, sorry, this one first. So that's why I'll not the spring beans version of this. Okay, so this is the basically Maven followed this logic to resolve the dependency. Okay, so now you would say, okay, so this video is about the Maven BOM. So till now we haven't discussed about this. So till now you have seen that how Maven has its own logic to conflict those to resolve those conflicts. Sorry, okay, but in certain scenario there will arise a case that no, we want this version only, 5.2.13 only, right? So how I should dictate the Maven that no, you shouldn't follow, you should follow your rule, but for this particular version, let me show it. Let's say for this particular spring beans, I want 5.2.13 release. I don't want any other version. You should follow your own logic, but for the spring beans, I want this particular version, right? So for that purpose, Maven BOM is the most efficient and the easy way to take that, right? So after this, I'll discuss with the Maven BOM.